made of metal is by a pink jelly called navel jelly. The main ingredient in navel jelly is phosphoric acid. The main ingredient in Coca-Cola is phosphoric acid. So don't drink very much Coca-Cola. Amen.
Tell about what happens in Coca-Cola.
Oh, well, since it's phosphoric acid, if you pour it into a Dixie cup made of wax paper, it will melt through the cup in 2 days. And the Coke will spill all over whatever surface you put the cup on.
And then it goes, so imagine what it would do to your body.
Exactly. If it could remove the rust off of your bicycle or your car, it will mess up your kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take to mess up your kidneys? Maybe 20 or 30 years, but this will matter to you when you're 60 years old. My mother drank Coca-Cola as a Diet Coke as a painkiller because she had back pain. And Coca-Cola also has, Diet Coke has caffeine in it, which is an ingredient that's similar to aspirin, or the same ingredient as aspirin. And it thins out your blood, and it makes it so your muscles don't hurt so much. And so she drank that as a pain reliever instead of taking aspirin. And it destroyed her kidneys, and she died probably 10 years younger than she would have normally lived. And living with kidney failure, when you have kidney failure, you have to go to dialysis and sit there for 8 hours while a robot or mechanical machine cleans your kidney. So this is why you don't want to drink too much Coca-Cola and too much alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Those are drinks that will famously destroy your kidney. And I'm talking beer and vodka.
Mm-hmm. So what does we have no people in here right now. What does drinking water do? Like the positive benefits of drinking water.
I'm told it burns fat. I was told that the best, most physically fit soldier can only go 2 days without water without experiencing delirium. That means going nuts, going mentally ill. So after a day without water, you start going a little bit mentally deficient. You lose your mental abilities. Mm-hmm. And after 2 days without water, your mental abilities go way down. So if you want to be smart, drink water.
Yeah.
How much? I think they say 32 cups a day. So I had an interesting friend that I met. And
yeah. Sorry.
He wore clothes that were too big. Really? I learned that people that wear clothes that are too big are sometimes gymnasts because they want to hide their muscles.
Okay.
Sometimes farmers will wear clothes that are too big because they want to hide their muscles. And that's why I met him, because this guy had a limit of friends because he wore baggy clothes. And he drank 10 glasses of water, about the size of your water bottle. You could show it on the screen. He drank 10 bottles of that at every meal.
Every meal?
He was ranked number 10 in the United States for gymnastics. One of the best college gymnasts in the country. Top 10 of all the schools.
Dang.
So he certainly believed that drinking that much water was important. I can tell you he was nearly all muscle. So what does that mean? He was about 10% muscle, maybe 9%. Only 10% body fat.
Wow.
So Olympic athletes are about 10% body fat.
Uh-huh.
That's an Olympic male athlete. An Olympic female athlete is about 18% body fat. So I am told that water burns fat. That's another good reason for me to drink water.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to think straight and burn fat, drink water.
So tell us about the bicycling versus walking. The distance, 17 miles.
I heard from John Tesh. He's got a radio show, and he said to burn off a McDonald's meal, you have to walk 17 miles. That's how many miles you have to walk to burn all the calories in a McDonald's meal. He was referring to a cheeseburger and French fries, medium French fries, and a glass of Coca-Cola. Which
is extremely unhealthy, as we talked about before.
And when you walk, there's a little more force on your joints, so it's better to walk on asphalt than it is on concrete. Long-distance runners will tell you very quickly, even at the high school age, even in 10th grade, that when you run on concrete, you feel it in your knees and your ankles and your feet. So what I did as a high school runner, I would try to run on asphalt instead of when it was safe to do so. Maybe a church parking lot or something like that. But, of course, every runner will try to run on the grass because it's easier on your knees and your ankles than concrete is on your knees and ankles.
Yeah.
Now, riding a bicycle, it doesn't matter if you ride on concrete. So, riding a bicycle, you can burn lots of calories without putting a load on your knees and ankles.
Mm-hmm.
That's why riding a bicycle is a good idea. You could ride on anything and it's not going to put a load on your knees and ankles.
So approximately how many more calories would you burn if you rode a bicycle everywhere you went rather than driving a vehicle everywhere you went?
I estimate you'd have to drive, and I don't know about a bicycle, earlier we were talking about bicycles and people that walk.
Yeah.
This is an incorrect answer, but I would estimate you have to bicycle twice as far as someone that walks to burn as many calories. Because you're sitting on your butt and you're not moving your whole body.
Yep. Oh, did you know bicycling is a forearm? A forearm.
So it's going to develop your triceps, which is good for men and women because women don't like fat back there, and muscle burns fat. I mean, a person with muscle will burn fat faster.
Yeah.
Which is always nice.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Yeah.
All exercise is good for having a clear head, so if you do any kind of exercise, it will help you do better in school because you'll have a clear head. Yeah. This is why athletes tend to get good grades, because they have a clear head.
Now tell about the secret they don't want us to know in what you call them, muscle growth.
Oh.
What are they called?
You were asking about protein drinks.
Yeah.
It's good for you if a doctor recommends it to you, but if a doctor doesn't recommend it to you, it's not a good idea, and here's why. Protein drinks, if you drink too much of them, will damage your kidneys. Not as bad as phosphoric acid and Coca-Cola, but it will damage your kidneys. Mm-hmm. So, everything in moderation, a little bit of protein drink will be fine for you. But there's people, especially young men, that they want to have muscles quickly, and they'll do steroids and protein drinks together, and both of those are bad for your body, but especially the protein drinks in excess will damage your kidneys.
Yeah. All right.
Steroids for men will give you testicular cancer or cancer in your balls, and you don't want that.
Definitely not.
And it causes steroid rage, which is called roid rage.
Yeah, that's probably why everybody has it.
And here. It causes, if I didn't mention it, I'll say it the second time, it causes brain cancer too. Yeah, I didn't mention that. So, and then when you stop exercising, then it's also going to cause you to gain weight. Again, a doctor will prescribe you steroids, to gain weight, especially after you've been sick. Also, doctors prescribe steroids, especially to men. Recently, maybe in the last 10 years, it's been prescribed to help you breathe better after you got bronchitis.
Oh, okay.
So it helps you when you got a little bit of junk in your lungs.
Yeah.
Didn't
know that.
Interestingly enough, they prescribed it to my mom, and my mom got immediately sick because steroids act differently when a woman takes a steroid pill than when a man takes a steroid pill.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly, when I was a kid, it was legal for pro baseball players to take steroids. Now it's not.
Okay.
The last of the baseball players to take steroids and admit it was Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
Mm-hmm.
They were famously jacked with big muscles all over their body. And they hit 65 home runs in 170 games.
Dang.
Every year.
That's crazy.
And I understand it also causes hair loss, but you could have hair loss just from growing old.
Yeah. So, is it possible to drown yourself from drinking too much water?
Yes, you can drink too much water. How much would you have to drink? Probably more than 4 gallons a day. You would start having negative effects from drinking too much water. I don't know what those negative effects would be. I
don't know.
So I would say you want to drink a gallon of water a day, and you don't want to drink 10 gallons of water a day. So somewhere between 1 and 10.
Yeah.
I think they used to say, like my gymnastics friend, he would drink 30 glasses of water, which were 8-ounce glasses. So 8 times 30 is 240 ounces.
How many ounces is in a gallon?
32 ounces, I think. So, yeah, I have to do the math, but
yeah,
start running into trouble after 5 gallons or 32 8-ounce cups of water.
Mm-hmm.
You have to ask Google what happens when you drink too much water.
Yeah, you would.
And like everything, the famous Asian saying, I think it's Confucius maybe, says that even honey is poison if you eat too much of it.
Yeah.
It's funny now that carbohydrates are considered a curse.
Really?
But they're absolutely needed for top athletic performance. I still think, even today, top athletes eat pancakes, a meal of pancakes or a meal of spaghetti before a big event, like a 3-mile race or a 50-mile bike ride or even a football game.
So is it better to eat after you work out or before?
Well, you want to have the carbohydrates to use during the event, so it's better to eat them one day before the event. So, but carbohydrates, if you eat too many of them, makes you fat. So you want to eat less carbohydrates after the event. In other words, you want to eat the carbohydrates the day before. And again, everything in moderation. You don't want to eat pancakes and spaghetti every day.
Yeah.
Or bread every day. But you definitely want to eat those things the day before the big event.
Mm-hmm. So if I go about 15 miles a day on a bike, how much should I eat with the workout? How many calories should I eat with the workout?
Well, that would be an Ask Google question, and Google will probably give you the answer.
All right.
But the simple answer that if anybody would have told you 200 years ago and today would be a normal serving or a from a restaurant, $10 worth of spaghetti, maybe every 2 days from a restaurant. In other words, a spaghetti meal from a cheap restaurant every 2 days. And in place of a spaghetti meal, you could have a couple slices of bread every day. Maybe up to 6 slices of bread or 6 hamburger buns.
All right.
Roughly that.
Okay.
But you don't want to eat the whole loaf of bread, that's the point.
Yeah.
And you don't want to skip eating the loaf of bread because you want to have enough energy to compete well.
Uh-huh.
So what happens when you have too many carbohydrates, famously from eating too much McDonald's, which is famously full of carbohydrates and triglycerides.
Mm-hmm.
You get too fat too quick and you get diabetes. So you want some energy, but you don't want so much energy that you get diabetes.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you get too much energy from eating too many carbohydrates, which I would imagine would be a giant bowl of spaghetti at every meal, every day, that would be too much. Your body would produce insulin, whichever organ produces insulin. It would produce insulin to process those carbohydrates. And that would be overdoing it, and that organ that produces insulin would start to fail or go haywire. And when you start to fail, you have diabetes, and then when you have diabetes, you don't care about sports anymore. You're just trying to stay alive at that point.
Yep.
So I always think of one of the greatest athletes of all times. It was Jim Thorpe in 1912, considered the world's greatest athlete. He lived on a farm away from school, and I think Google will tell you that he walked to school 12 miles a day.
Dang.
And so that would be 12 miles back.
24 miles.
A lot of dirt roads, mostly dirt roads. Sometimes he'd walk along the railroad tracks, which I don't recommend. That's a great way to get killed or hurt.
Yep.
But he walked on dirt roads for about 12 miles to school every day. He was the greatest football player and the greatest track athlete, and he was a great baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
He got a crown from the King of Italy for winning many races in the Olympics in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the great college football players of all times, and this was before there was professional football. This was 50 years before the NFL.
Yeah.
And he was about 145, 150 pounds, Native American Indian. Didn't have a lot of money for meat, but he ate vegetables and a little bit of meat, a little bit of bread. So he got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of fruit, a little bit of vegetables, a little bit of meat. It's called a balanced diet. Mm-hmm. And probably had zero Coca-Cola.
True. Did they even have Coca-Cola back then?
Famously, back then, I believe Coca-Cola had real cocaine in it. That's where the name comes from.
Dang.
And it was called a pick-me-up drink because you drink it and you feel energy, but you pay the price for that chemical.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about your body being a sensitive chemical machine. That's why you don't mess with cocaine. And that's why they replace cocaine with phosphoric acid and caffeine.
Yeah.
It won't kill you quite as fast.
Mm-hmm. It still will, though.
So I recently learned, although it's been known to science for perhaps 40 years, caffeine is a natural insecticide. Caffeine kills bugs. So if it's a natural insecticide, what are we doing drinking it?
Yeah. Have you ever heard the thing where there's ants in your yard and you pour Coca-Cola on top of them?
No, but I believe it would work because the other ingredient in Coca-Cola besides phosphoric acid is caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's uncaffeinated. But caffeinated drinks like Coca-Cola, the caffeine is a natural insecticide, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
I had a job where I got to work with a lot of military people. They were mostly from the Army and the Navy. And the Navy people are famous for drinking too much coffee.
Yeah.
And many of them, it seemed like more than half of the men that I met who were about age 40, they had problems with headaches. So if you drink caffeine for 20 years, it's a sure thing you're going to have problems with headaches.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you reverse those problems?
Stop drinking caffeine, which is a problem because when you have a headache, you want to get rid of the headache, and so you take more caffeine. So that's called a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess and another thing that will cause a headache or aggravate a headache is a lack of water. So what I would recommend is you drink less caffeine and more water.
Yep. See, I've literally never had a headache. I also don't drink coffee.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
Probably why.
So there's a connection there.
Yeah.
So what is the issue with the Navy people? My dad was in the Navy, and he described a process called 4 on, 4 off. So in the Navy, especially when you're at war, you might be allowed to sleep for 4 hours. And then you got to work for 4 hours. And then you get to go back to sleep for 4 hours. All across the military and all the military branches, you're famously working for 12 hours. So that's the sacrifice that soldiers go through. They don't get that easy sleep schedule that civilians get.
Yeah.
To pass the Marine Corps, they have something called the Crucible, which I've watched on television, where you have to go at the last week of your training. I believe it's 2 days without sleep, and you have to do your exercises, famously climbing over a wall with a rope and climbing under an obstacle that you have to crawl on your belly to go under it.
Yeah.
But you do this for most of the day, and you do that with no sleep, a day with no sleep. Navy SEAL training is also famous for a lack of sleep. They might go more than 1 day without sleep. They might go 3 days without sleep. Or when they're given sleep, they are allowed to sleep for an hour, and then someone wakes them up, famously by splashing cold water on them. So military people don't always get good sleep, especially in training.
Sure.
If you're going to be a Navy SEAL, you can forget about sleep. If you're going to be in the Navy, period, you're not going to get much sleep, and you're going to want to compensate that by drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Lots of it. Oddly, I've met many, I'll call them friends I've met in Martinsburg, and they have serious sleep problems. And I will get to know them, and I will find out that they will drink a liter of Mountain Dew at 10 o'clock at night. And I will say, no wonder you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Mountain Dew has even more caffeine than Coca-Cola. But I like to drink Mountain Dew because it doesn't have phosphoric acid on the label.
Yeah.
So I might drink Mountain Dew in the morning. Those same people will drink a whole pot of coffee, which is like a gallon, at 10 o'clock at night.
Dang.
And then you'll say, no wonder you can't go to sleep.
Does Dr. Pepper have phosphorus?
Yes, it has more. I don't know about phosphoric acid. That's a great question. Everybody should go look at the back of your Dr. Pepper can and see if it's got phosphoric acid.
Yeah.
I know that Dr. Pepper has a little more caffeine than Coca-Cola, maybe a little less than Mountain Dew.
Okay. What does he say?
Dr. Pepper has a little more caffeine than Coca-Cola and a little less than Mountain Dew.
Oh, okay.
But does it have phosphoric acid? That's a great question. I don't know the answer.
That's usually what I drink whenever I want to soak this Dr. Pepper.
That's where you're getting a little bit of caffeine from. I'm going to guess you don't drink a lot of Dr. Pepper, I hope.
Nah.
Again, so everything in moderation.
So, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Can sunburns cause cancer? Or can
Yes, it's called skin cancer. Especially, so I have a brother who has a master's degree in law. It's called a Juris Doctor degree.
Uh-huh.
And with that degree, you also need to pass a bar exam, which which is a very long test. I think it's 8 hours a day for 4 days. A very long test. And once you get your Juris Doctor degree and you pass the bar exam, you can be a lawyer in the state that you do it.
Really? Mm-hmm. Nice. Can you be in another state though?
You have to pass the bar. Each bar's exam is different in every state. I read books that some bar exams are easier than other states.
Really? Wow. How do you sharpen a knife?
Well, let me get back to the skin cancer. So my brother and I, and you and me, I was born with light blonde hair. And every year I got older, it got slightly darker. That's called sandy blonde or dirty blonde. And you still have very blonde hair, and you're slightly getting sandy blonde. Probably every year you're getting more and more sandy blonde.
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine my lawyer brother, he can read like a champion. He can easily go through a 200-page book in a week, effortlessly. And he does. He reads about one book per week.
Wow.
He likes to read books about health because he's struggling to be skinny, because when you sit and read books, guess what? You get fat.
Yep.
So he reads a lot of books about health and nutrition. Also, my mother got a degree in nutrition.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
my brother will tell you, my lawyer brother will tell you that you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting skin cancer if you're white and you have blonde hair.
You're white.
And so I have 4 brothers, so one of us is guaranteed to get skin cancer. My dad had
one. What if you're the only one?
Well, then you'd have to get
sunscreen.
4 blonde friends and ask them. So, of course, these numbers apply to millions of people.
Yeah.
So perhaps of 1 million people that are blonde with white hair, if you ask them all and follow their life, chances are, or it's probably already been done, that 250,000 of them got skin cancer. Which is a pretty high number.
It is.
For 1 million.
Mm-hmm. That's 25%, right?
Yes. So, my dad has red hair, and my mom's a brunette, and my dad drove a truck. And truck drivers famously get a truck driver tan on their forearms, and on their neck, and on their face. My dad, after driving a truck for 30 years, got skin cancer on the back of his neck.
Yeah.
So
I gotta get some.
Was that random, or was it the fact that he had fair skin? Or the fact that he was exposed to sun a lot?
I think it was the fact that he was exposed to the sun a lot.
Right. When I was a high school student, I learned about fluorocarbons, which was the ingredient that made air conditioning work in 1970 and 1960 and 1950. Now air conditioning has a different chemical in it that makes the air in your car cool.
Yeah.
And what they learned is that fluorocarbons burn the ozone layer that's over the earth that protects ultraviolet rays from the sun from giving us skin cancer. So the government said, we're going to reduce the sales of fluorocarbon, and we're not going to use fluorocarbon in air conditioning systems in car anymore.
Yeah. What are we going to use?
Because when it burns through your car engine, it gets into the atmosphere and it burns a hole in the ozone layer.
Oh, okay.
So since we all don't want skin cancer, we're going to stop using fluorocarbons. And so now, new cars made since, 1980,
dang,
they don't use fluorocarbon in the air conditioning.
Yeah.
You probably can't buy fluorocarbon for air conditioning for cars anymore.
True.
So if you have an old car, probably the air conditioner is not going to work, or you're going to have to convert it to a new system that uses a different way to cool, different chemical to cool the air.
Okay.
I do a lot of sports officiating for baseball and softball, and I belong to the Winchester Sports Officials Association, Winchester, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
One of my fellow umpires happened to be a lawyer and a very loved man because he did a great work in helping innocent people to be free from conviction when they were falsely accused.
All right.
I got a call one day to be his substitute. He was 35 years old, healthy man, moved quick like an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He got skin cancer on his forearms, and to my horror and the other 30 umpires in the association, he died 3 months later from skin cancer on his forearm.
Dang. That sucks.
An interesting piece of trivia is that in a lot of sports associations, it's not permissible to wear a long sleeve shirt, which would prevent you from getting skin cancer.
True.
That should be changed. You should be allowed to wear a long sleeve shirt to protect you from getting skin cancer.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid in the 70s, like 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, we wore baseball jerseys, which would come, long sleeve shirts that would come almost between your elbow and your wrist, right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And even the professionals wore them. And I think you can still see professionals wear them, especially in night games. But we would also wear them in the daytime. And now they're not as common. So it's sad to see that we're not as smart as we were in 1975.
Yeah.
Now officials are told not to wear them. This makes no sense. Especially when you're official, you might officiate 3 games. Each game could be up to 3 hours. A varsity game could be 3 hours long. A junior varsity game could be easily 2.5 hours long.
Wow.
That would be 11th grade high school baseball or high school softball. And you could very easily do 2 or 3 of those games on a Saturday if you were a good umpire or if you wanted to be an umpire. And you would be exposed to a lot of ultraviolet rays because you would be told not to wear a long sleeve shirt. They would say that's against the uniform regulations.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So listen to your grandparents. They probably have lots of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Wear sunblock. Wear a long sleeve shirt. My dad's experience in the Navy told me that you would get the worst and most dangerous sunburn in the morning between 9 in the morning and 12. So he wasn't worried about his sons getting a sunburn in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
He was more worried about his sons getting a sunburn at 11.
Yeah.
And what I was taught then, which is still true today, is that you keep burning 8 hours after you go inside. So what you can do to reduce a sunburn, even before you feel the pain, is to take a bath in water, which will absorb that heat energy, or a shower that will absorb that heat energy, and you will burn less. Okay. And I did an accidental experiment, which was wildly successful.
Really?
I was in college and I wore a tank top, and I got a sunburn on both shoulders. I would say a pretty bad sunburn. And I asked my friends in the dormitory where you live as a college student for anything that would help. And the most popular product in 1988 was a product called Solar Cane in a can. And you could still buy it at Walmart, and you spray it on the sunburn.
Mm-hmm.
Feels good.
Really?
And that's what everybody used, because that's what all the commercials on TV said you were supposed to use.
Uh-huh.
But the can was nearly empty, so I sprayed it on one shoulder and it was all gone. And I used a new product from another friend that was a gel. And it's the ingredients that's on the inside of a cactus. And Native American Indians have been using this probably 400 years before Christ.
Yeah.
It's called aloe vera. You can buy it at the store now, and it's called aloe vera gel. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's green. Doesn't matter. It says aloe vera on it. So I took this aloe vera gel. I think it was clear. Doesn't matter. And I poured I squeezed it onto my hand like toothpaste, and I rubbed it on the other arm because I didn't have any more solar cane. And I was just taking a chance, and I didn't think it would work at all. The next day and the next day after, the arm with solar cane on it, the skin peeled off like a baked lobster or something, like shrimp. The skin of my arm peeled off, the top layer of skin.
Yeah.
It looked pretty bad. And I got sunspots and stuff from the sunburn. So I healed poorly on the arm with solar cane.
Dang.
On the arm with aloe vera, I got a nice tan, no pain, no burning feeling, didn't look like a burn, and the skin did not peel.
Wow.
So from then on, whenever I get a sunburn, even a little one, I'm going to use aloe vera gel.
Yeah.
Now that's something that everybody knows now, or most people know now, but we did not know this in 1987. And Native American Indians knew this, like I said, that would be 2,400 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Better finish what we're doing here.
Yeah, we better.
All right. Good night.
All right, good night.